Okay, here we are with our post-apocalyptic superhero down in their luck compound. Going to experiment with Motion Director. Haven't used it very much and kind of want to get started with it. Think it has some possibilities. So we'll take our little superhero here and see if we can walk her around the compound and try to get a handle on what Motion Director really does and if it'll be a plus for us. One thing I think I have found that I kind of prefer is to open up the workspace and use the Motion Director workspace. And you've got your controls here, you've got your scene still here, content files, but your Motion Director main screens are over here on the left and on the right. Whenever we load in an Motion Director animation file for our avatar, it'll pop up over here and show us some information, potentially give us some options. But I'm still learning for sure, so I'm sure I'm going to make a bunch of mistakes. So we'll make them together and maybe we'll learn something eventually. So let's kind of get started here. Okay, so let's now see if we can find our animation, and there it is, but let's look again. It'll be probably in your template section and under animation, and it'll need to have Motion Director associated with it in some way. Not a lot to choose from at this point in time, I don't believe, but we'll go ahead and use the basic one. In this folder we have male and female moves. Notice there's an M here, or there's an F here. You have different kinds of walks. Now if you choose all, I'm going to choose the casual all female MD file, it's going to include the stroll and the walk. So I'm going to double click. You can either drag it on top of the avatar, or I'm going to double click, and it takes it a little while. So these MD files are made up of multiple parts, it appears. Multiple animations and movements are associated with a single file. Now if we look over here in behaviors, we see the casual move. It's also has included the walk and the stroll, so we didn't need to add a separate walk and stroll. They're included. And also there are subsets of the walk. There is a jump motion, which we can trigger. If you look closely, there's a 1 there, and here's what they call tidy up associated with the 2 on the keyboard. And you have a stroll, and there's also a much slower move, and notice the jump is not the same and the tidy up is not the same in the stroll mode. So the MD files have a number of components, and if you're using the keyboard, and you'll notice down here it talks about, we can see what triggers are associated potentially with certain things, and haven't learned a lot about this section, but it reinforces what we're learning here. So let's go back now to Motion Director Control Panel, and once again we have our single avatar selected. If we had multiple avatars in the scene, they would be listed here, and then we would have to make a selection as to which one we're going to act on. As far as I can tell, you can only, in this method, you can only animate one at a time at this point in time, so I could be wrong about that. Also, we've only selected one movement, one Motion Director file, which is casual. That's right here. Notice the edit behaviors is here, and we can toggle between our characters menu to work with our character, and we might want foot contact on potentially. We'll see about that. And then we can toggle back to the behaviors. So I'm going to probably leave the character up like so. Also, we have a little wheel here that will allow us to edit certain aspects of that file. This is the casual walk. Notice you have settings here. Turning rate, 30 degrees, I'm assuming. Trigger angle. Those things can be adjusted to make the movement do the type of turn or the speed that you need it to do. There's also a reset button. I did notice, though, if I hit the reset button, it resets the controls, and you can't get them back for this particular walk unless you reload it, and then it resets. So, don't know if that's me or what, but don't hit that unless you, realize it's going to reset to the default mode, and you may have to reload this particular behavior. So we'll leave it there for now. Looking down here, these are the control options, and I don't have a gamepad associated with this particular computer, so won't be able to use a gamepad to move around. I do have my keyboard and a mouse. So what you can do here, supposedly, we hit start. Now if we use the keyboard commands are the classic WS and the A and the D. So W is backward or forward, we'll find out. The big screen to really try to get a handle on is the camera settings, and a lot of little nuances here. You've got a couple of modes: free camera mode, follow camera mode, blah, blah, blah. We'll look at that. You can record, once again, directed to camera. I'm not sure if this is the same as doing this. This does warn that it may have unexpected results, so I haven't played with that. We'll have to play with that later. You can, once again, if you have multiple avatars, you can pick the avatar you're using. Since we only have the one, it's only going to be that one. And then we have game controller settings. Well, if you're using a game controller, which I'm not, you can adjust the sensitivity settings and all that there. The other big deal is all the various camera views that are possible to use when you're animating your character. You start off with the full view, which is a rear view, and you can then control using this camera view as you move your character around. You've got close-ups, which is another here, and various other cameras. I think the more important ones are the custom views, because you can then set the view however you like, and that will become the view for that camera. You can set up a bunch of different custom views, which are really important. What happens if you're in the follow camera mode and you're working with this full shot from the rear and you hit the record button? It's going to jump to the camera that was set as the default, and in our case the default was that custom view right there, because it had the default set to it. If I choose to use this close-up view here, I would set it as the default, and then when I hit record, it stays with that view since it was the default view. So that's kind of crucial there, because that can be confusing. If you're looking at this and you hit record, it's going to jump to that default view. And as I say, I kind of like the custom view. The custom views, you can customize the angle that you're viewing the avatar at, and you can set it, and you can set default, and it brackets that word default in there, and that becomes the default view. So now when I hit the play record button, it will do the recording. Okay, let's just see what happens then. I'm going to hit start, and I'm going to hold down the S key, hold down the A key, keep holding the S key, tap the A key, holding the S key still, tap the D key. Now let off the S key. Okay, now let's hit the W key. And we're going to go back the opposite way. Hold down, tap the A key, keep holding the W key. I'm going to tap the D key, keep holding that, W key. Now let off, and it will eventually stop, and here we go. And now let's come back to a resting position right there. Tapping the A key, tapping the A key, tapping the D key, tapping the D key, tapping the S key. Nothing really happens. Hold down the S key, and now we've got something going. Okay, so let's go back and start again. And now remember we had the 1 and the 2 keys, and notice we have 2 bars here. I'm going to hit the S key, and then I'm going to hit the Control key, and watch what happens to one of the bars. Okay, the bars goes away. We're now strolling, and all I had to do was basically, I'm now let off. I'm just holding the S key now. Going to let off. Let's go back with the W. Since we just have the 1 green bar, we're going to be in the stroll mode. So hold down the W key again, and we're still in the stroll mode. And turn the S key again. Here we go. Now if I hit the, if I hold down the S key, hit the Shift key, notice we're back into the normal walk mode. So hit the Control key, hit the W key, and now we're back in the stroll mode. So different ways of reacting. You got multiple animations there. Now let's go back. Let's stay in the stroll mode. Going to hit the S key again, and here we go. I'm going to hit the 1 key. Number 1, remember that's a jump, but now it's stepping over in the stroll mode. If I hit the 2, tapping the 2, letting off, she does the freshen up, and then starts strolling some more. Now, if we hit the Shift key, I'm going to hit the W key, turn around, back in the walk, hit the 1 key, totally different jump, hit the 2 key, brushes the hair. So totally different in the walk mode than in the stroll mode. And if we're standing still, and I hit the 1, jumping in place, hit the 2, pulls a mirror or a phone out and checks the hairdo. So you have different options within each mode of animation. So that's pretty cool right there. And that's using WSAD, 1 and the 2, Shift and the Control. Hit the Control key, hit the Shift key, hit the Control key. We go into different modes there. So that's pretty neat. If we stop, we now look in the macro data, and it has recorded a temporary file which we can preview and see if we like it, and it will then play back exactly what we did. Now notice the camera is not following because we're back into the preview mode, so you would have to create a camera to follow her, and of course not a big deal. We would just simply zoom our preview in, create a new camera. Let's pick an orbit camera. Let's go over to attach, pick a parent, let's just click, and let's select bone root, and turn off rotate scale maybe. And now we're in camera 3, we're calling it, and if we hit that particular clip, select her again. Here we go. Okay, we've got the avatar selected. Now hit preview, and now we can follow her with a follow camera, which we've created. Not really a part of Motion Director per se, but we're back in really the normal iClone animation modes. We have created a camera, we've linked it, attached it, and we can follow our avatar with no problem. So if we liked that particular temp, and you can keep creating temp files forever pretty much, as long as your memory holds out. You can delete them, you can clear the entire directory if there are a bunch of these, or you can hit create clip, and creating a clip will then create an animation file for your avatar. It takes a little while for it to generate. Okay, now if we hit our, here we go, here's our timeline, and here is our animation file here that has been created. And we can edit it just like any other animation file we create, so it becomes no different than anything else you might add to an avatar. Okay, now another method to animate our avatar is to use the mouse and create what they call waypoints by clicking on your set, and the avatar will move from point to point that you click. So let's see what that's about. We need to hold down the Alt key when we use our mouse. So what I'm going to do here is hit Start, and now I'm going to hold down the Alt key on the keyboard and click with the mouse. And I'm using the scroll wheel to move around. Now I'm letting off, and avatar will continue to follow to all the waypoints. Okay, let's hold the mouse down again, and I'm going to click again, here, here, here. Now I'm going to click the right mouse button, and it creates a brown spot. Now notice it forego all the other waypoints when I click on with the right mouse button to create a brown waypoint. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key again, left mouse button, left, left, left. Oh, I changed my mind. Hit the right mouse button, it changed to brown, and the avatar forego all those other waypoints for the one that I clicked with the right. Now, let's start again. I'm going to hold down the Alt. I'm going to click with the right. I'm sorry. Let's try that again. Okay, stop. I'm going to hold down the Alt key, right. See, notice we're creating brown, now green. And you see, and then it did, once again, it forego all the other browns and went to the green waypoint. Let's try that again. Brown, brown, right mouse, right mouse, right mouse, right mouse, now left mouse. So, interesting that that's possible using the waypoints. So, go. And now Alt right mouse. So it skipped that one and came right there. So you can change your mind, in other words. There we go. Okay, so interesting variation on the waypoints. And once again, if we look, we have created a temp file there, and we can preview that. We can delete it or clear all of the temps there, or use it as an actual clip. So another option that you have. Okay, let's go into the free camera mode, and let's go to the full shot, and let's set it as default. So it will start there. And now if we hit start, and if we hold down the control key, we can move the camera around with our right mouse button. Or even, it's better with the right mouse. The right mouse rotates a little bit better. So let's see what happens now when we hit the S key. And I'm using the scroll wheel to back up. Now watch what happens when I turn the camera. Notice the avatar is pretty much following the rotation position of the camera. So as I am rotating using the scroll wheel and the right mouse and holding down the S key, I'm able to have her follow the camera. And then when I let off, it will stop. So that's kind of interesting. It will follow the camera position in that free camera mode. Now it's probably going to be a little tricky. Let's see what happens if we try to use the one and the 2 key. It's a little tricky on the keyboard. Let's just see what happens. Let's start another one. Hold down the control key and get things in position, and then let's go S, and there we go. And now I'm going to tap the 1. There we go. Okay, and notice we're still in the stroll mode. And let's stop, and let's hit the shift, and now let's hit S, and now in the walk mode. And once again, following the camera position as I move around using the scroll wheel and the right mouse button. So, okay, so that's a possibility too. So, there we go. So that's another way of working with the cameras, and that's going to take a little practice maybe, but have some fun experimenting with that method and see what you can come up with. Okay, we're still in free camera, and we've set full shot to free camera, and let's just do a little bit more here and start and hit S, and there we go. And now let's get a W. Gonna hold down W, and let's see if we can time our jump right here. Okay, did pretty good. Let's try that again. We got a little off that time. Now, one thing you want to notice is, let's go back and hit the D again. Just line her up a little bit here. Okay. Now, any prop that's, she's going to try to go over it. It may or may not look good. Any prop, yeah, see, feet kind of went through it. So that's probably not the best way to do it. Let's see what happens here using waypoint. Kind of hold down, you're holding down Alt. Okay, looks pretty good. Not too bad. Can kind of go up and down steps. And once again, this was just a prop. This wasn't set up as a terrain in any way. Certainly convincing for a lot of stuff, so I'm kind of impressed with that. Okay, let's try the same thing just using WSAD and see what happens if it works the same. I think it will. And yeah, seems to work just fine. About the same. Now we've moved our avatar out to the terrain around our little compound. I'm using an old mesh medium terrain. This was the dirt terrain, and I just put a different surface on it. So let's see how she reacts to walking around a terrain surface, an uneven surface. So let's just hit start, and I'm going to hit the A key, and let's just hit the S key and walk up. Okay, walking up, not perfect, but at least seems to be reacting to the height of the terrain. Pretty good. I'm guessing that could potentially be tweaked a little bit, but bottom line seems to be reacting to the height of the terrain reasonably well. Okay, now just for an experiment, let's take our terrain and let's make sure we've got the terrain selected. Right here, it's on dirt. I'm going to convert it to a prop, and let's just see if the avatar reacts the same way. I'm just going to make sure we got no animation involved. Obviously we do have some temp files, but let's go ahead and clear those for grins as well. And we're still in the player control mode. And let's just see what happens here when we convert the terrain into a prop. And let's see, holding down the S and the A key. There's the S. And now let's do the A key. And he's still walking up the prop and around and down the prop. So pretty much the same effect whether it's a terrain or whether it's a prop. Reacts pretty much the same as far as I can tell. Now there are some settings right here that determine how high the character will climb. So we've got that right there. I think you can see a little arrow there, and there is a falling limit, and there's an arrow there. Might be able to see it, not showing up real well. We have transpose damping and input forecast, and boy, that's just something you're going to have to play with. Not sure exactly what those are going to do, but I'm assuming might allow us to fine-tune how we move up and around objects. So that's something to keep in mind. Those devices, controls that are available here. Okay, another method of controlling an avatar with the motion director is using a path, control on a path. So let's click that, and let's just create a path, and it can be anywhere. Let's just start over here, here, here. Holding down the Alt key lets us navigate around the screen, and by holding down our left mouse button. Okay, and let's hit the escape to end our path. So we've got a path, and let's see what our options are now. We can certainly pick the path, and it's going to start on the path or not start on the path. Let's just try picking a path here, and let's leave start on path, and let's see what happens when we navigate. And here we go, holding down the W key, and it's walking on the path. Seems to be doing pretty good, and then it will stop. And now the A and the D key really don't seem to do anything. If we hit 1, we can jump. If we hit 2, obviously we can do the tidy up feature when we're sitting idle. So if we hit the S key now, let's see, hitting the S key doesn't do anything. Hitting the W key doesn't seem to do anything. S key again. Okay, you have to just keep tapping until you get something. And now we're following the path. Now if we hit a, okay, there we go, we hit the 1, but notice what happened. It kind of went off the path. And let's hit the W key again. It goes back to the path and starts that way. So a little bit of oddity there. And once again, if we hit the 2, it kind of goes off roading on the path a little bit. So that's interesting. Hitting the S key now will take us back the other direction. Okay, just a little odd when you hit the 1 and the 2 on the path. It definitely wants to throw it off a little bit. And W key turns around. Okay, so that's that. I did notice one time when I did the path that the avatar tended to swing way around the nodes and way around. It stayed on the path, but it moved way out. Now, what you might need to do sometimes is to select the path and make an edit. You may need to edit a point. And once again, let's see here. Yeah, Control Q. I'm going to click on that point there, and you can tighten up the curve by using this. So if the avatar tends to swing way out sometimes, you might think about adjusting your Bezier curve there and getting a better curve, a tighter curve, because the avatar might swing out. It seemed to do okay. If you have a real closely confined path, it may overreact to the nodes, and this is a way to get it to stay tighter to the path. So that's control on path. So let's see here. Select our avatar again. There we go. So that was control on path. Now, if we don't click start on path, let's see what happens. Path should still be selected. And okay, I'm hitting the W. And now it's walking to the path and following the path. We let off the W. Now if I hit the S key, we're going back the opposite direction on the path. Okay, so it walked to the path and found it in that particular mode by deselecting start on path. So that's interesting aspect there. Okay, we have another method of controlling an avatar, and that's called auto on path. And that opens up a plethora of controls. So let's just see, let's create a quick path. And let's just start over here, and here, and here, and here, really. And hit escape to complete the path. Now let's select our avatar. Okay, here we are. Got that. So let's hit start and see what happens. And we get a message. Character does not have proper motion director settings. Okay, so let's look. What I did on purpose was I didn't select the path. So let's select the path and select there. And it's going to start on the path. And notice it's going to idle. It's going to move more than it idles. Let's just set it in the middle here. Idle range. You can set that. It's going to idle for this long. It's going to move for this long. Perform. Okay, perform is probably those 1 and 2 controls, so we want it to perform maybe. Speed, switching from strolling to walking, I guess. So let's just see what happens here. And okay, it is idling. It jumped to the path because we said start on path, and now it's going to walk. And, okay, walk. And notice it's swinging way out here. And once again, that may be because we need to adjust. Our path is real tight and short and small in a confined area. So that's probably why she moved way out and came back. We can adjust those nodes to where that might move a little better. I don't know. We'll just see. It appears when it goes into its idle modes, or the 1 and the 2 key modes, it tends to get off of the path. But it's going to sit here and just going to run automatically for as long as you want it to run, I guess. And that's auto on path. So yeah, here she goes. When she did that jump, notice she moved away from the path and then got into the bus here, which is probably not a good thing. So ideally you'd want to make a much bigger path, stretch it out, and avoid any potential problem there. Okay, it jumps back down. A little odd there, the way it performs those supplementary motions. And it kind of jumps off the surface and kind of stays on top of the surface for a while. But that's auto on path, and gives you some ideas maybe. Now, another control method is auto in zone. Now, what you do, as far as I can tell, in zone is add an object, and I just brought in a cube here, basic cube. Let's kind of reshape it a little bit. Don't know if you have to flatten it that much, but just make something that is an area. And so what's going to happen is the avatar is going to walk in this area and pretty much remain confined to this area. So let's select our avatar. Once again, we have a number of controls. We can have more moving than idling, and we can adjust the times of all that, so you can play with those things. We have snap to surface. Now this will be interesting to see, since the avatar does tend to react to objects and their height. As we saw, it jumps up and down on objects. So let's just watch what happens here. So we're going to hit, once again, we get our message. We have it selected. We need to pick our object, and it's pick the box. And now, here we go. It's running, and it is idling. And here we go, walking. Now, let's just see what happens. Doing a performance there. And it gets out of the box and goes back to the box. So it stays roughly within the area you have selected. And it will just keep performing automatically, going through all the routine. Now it gets a little far off there, and we can probably control how tightly it's going to be reined into that box with some of those settings we've brought up before. But doing a pretty good job remaining confined there. Now, I did notice that it stepped up like it normally would do. Let's go ahead and stop this one, and let's go back and say don't snap to surface, and I think the feet will stay closer to the original surface there. Let's just see what happens. Yeah, it didn't jump up on the box. And of course, once you have rendered, you can turn the box off, make it a dummy, make it invisible, turn it off, and then obviously select your animation and bake it, and you can get rid of the box. But you can have a number of avatars probably working within this area, so you could have a cluster of avatars working automatically within. Okay, seems to be doing okay, staying within the box. And once again, we can adjust the timing of how much movement the avatar is going to do, how much idling, how much performing. And whoop, there we go, got a little far out on that one. So we might need to rein that one in a little bit tighter. Yeah, I can't notice we're doing the walk, we're not strolling. I can't hit control or anything, nothing's going to work. It's taking over, it is doing automatically what it's going to do. As we go to that, so it's idling now. So there you go. So that's something that needs to be played with, but that's working within a zone. And as I say, once you have done it, and you like, which is probably this one, we can either delete that or do whatever, and select our avatar again. Now we can preview what we did. There we go. Now, if notice the feet are a little bit below the ground there, so what we can do is adjust that. Let's go ahead and bake that. Let's create the clip, and there we go. And notice the feet kind of dropped below my terrain surface, so let's raise it. And now let's perform. And so now we're good on the surface, and nothing has really changed. So yeah, pretty cool. Okay, so that's working in the zone. Okay, let's look at another method of controlling an avatar's locomotion in the motion director settings, and that's called follow object. Now, we can select an avatar, and we could select an object, like this piece of pipe, let's say, and we could animate this piece of pipe around our set, and then the avatar would supposedly follow that piece of pipe around if you wanted to do that. This method, let's try taking our avatar and following our original avatar. And let's control this avatar and have this second one follow. So we'll use this particular command here called follow object right there. So we will need to add our animation, and I'm going to use the casual all female. Let's just drag it on this time, and I'll drag that motion director animation file onto our second avatar. So they both need to have some type of motion file associated with them. And once that's done, then we will then want to make sure it's selected. Now we're going to go over here and say follow object, and we pick our object here. We can pick, as I say, an object or another avatar. And let's pick this avatar here, our original avatar. It pops up there. So this avatar is going to be following, and this avatar is going to be controlled once again just with our standard control using the keyboard or the mouse. So we've got them both here. They both have casual all associated with them. So let's try and see what happens when we let's take a look at this though. For one thing, let's look. We do have some control settings that will pop up when we use follow object. We can offset the object to the left or the right of what it's following, I'm assuming. We can position the position that it's following, how far back maybe, and then when it starts following. And so I'm going to leave these defaulted right now, and let's just see what happens. And hit start, and notice it walked right up to our other avatar, and now we will start moving that avatar. And there we go. And it seems to be following pretty good. It's following a little close, as you saw right there. Obviously, we can have our character run right into it if we want to do that, but that's probably not what I want to do normally. So let's stop that, and let's play with our offset keys here and offset sliders, and let's go to the left so far, and let's position so far back, and let's have it wait before it starts following, because you'll notice when I hit start, it immediately walked right up to the avatar that it was following. You probably don't want to do that normally. So let's hit start again, and now notice that it did wait, and now it's waiting some more, probably waiting too much, but that's okay. We're just experimenting here. And okay, and we turn around, and okay, it's following pretty good. Now if we do a here, okay, we did a little touch up, and let's walk around here, and now we can still probably turn around. We can make this character probably run into, if we wanted to, this character. So you could still run into the character even though you've set offsets, but you do have a way of controlling it, looks like. So by controlling these sliders here, we can control the offset. So let's have it start a little sooner. And let's try that, and then let's go here, and hit this. And there we go. Okay, yeah. I'm just moving around with the mouse now. Once again, we could make our original avatar run into this avatar if we wanted to. That's not going to change that offset in any way. But if you're careful, you can avoid that, obviously, doing that. So it's following around pretty nicely. All right, so that's a follow command, and it seemed to work pretty good. And that's just called follow object. And just be sure that you pick the object you want to follow. You could animate an object and it would follow it. And let's try one other thing. Let's do that again, and let's just see what happens when we yeah, it's only going to be following. If we do a jump, let's see what happens. Does it jump? No, it doesn't jump. So it's only walking to follow that avatar. So that's okay. All right, very good. Okay, let's experiment a little more with walking up and around objects. I've taken a 3D object here, made it transparent so you can kind of see what's going on foot-wise, and let's just make a ramp and see how well the avatar negotiates a ramp. We've looked at the terrain, and this could obviously be terrain, but it's simply a 3D box I brought in from the 3D objects. And let's see how the avatar walks up there. We'll just use the A key. Got the casual all. And so let's start, and here we go. And does a pretty nice job going up a ramp, as far as I can tell. Looks pretty good. Let's try the slow version, and we will hit the control key and now hit the A key, and let's see. There's a little spring action there. Don't know if that can be controlled. Potentially it can. Here in the controls, potentially this could work. I haven't played enough with every permutation to find out if it does. Maybe it will, so you might want to experiment with that. Also, once we let's just take one of these and go ahead and make it a clip. Okay, and now let's look at our get into timeline here. Here is our clip here, and we have now made it into an actual clip, and still got a little springing action. It's possible also that by bringing up, let's right click on the clip and let's bring motion corrector. And I haven't played a lot with this. But typically it's going to come up and it's going to say normal standing, and it's got some adjustments here. I don't know, sync all parts maybe, whatever. I don't know if that's helpful or not. Once again, experiment with it. Hit the correct button, and what's going to happen, you see a number of keyframes, and also in the scene menu we have this motion correction, and each we have footprints. If you look closely, you can see footprints down here. So let's play that and see what happens. Okay, we don't have the springing action, but we've got a little pop in the walking. May or may not be a deal killer for you. I don't know. Once again, I think if you play with the menu for that, you might be able to mitigate some of the pop. It definitely plants the feet really well. They are locked down really nice, no sliding going on there. And once again, select the avatar, right click on the clip and bring up motion corrector. And maybe by adjusting these items, I might be able to get some of that popping, a little bit of that popping out. I don't know, it's possible. But once again, I haven't played with all the permutations. That knee is a little odd. Right in there is a little pop in the knee action. So hopefully somebody will be able to play with that and can tell me how to improve those items. But that's pretty cool. Let's try some steps and not a ramp and see what happens. Okay, this time I've added a box, a number of boxes, made them transparent again, translucent with the opacity, and made some crude steps. And let's see how our avatar negotiates that. Once again, I'm going to just hit start, and I'm going to hold down control. I'm going to click control to go into the slow mode and hit A. And let's take it slow, and let's just watch what happens here. Boing, boing, boing. Okay, we get a little rising there. And once again, maybe that's fixable here. It's possible. I haven't tried it once again enough to know if that will help. Let's once again go ahead and make a clip for our avatar. We'll create a clip. And there it is. And let's once again right click and bring up motion corrector. And I'll just take whatever the default settings were and this time. And let's just see it correct. And wait a few seconds. And there are the keyframes there. And those keyframes are associated with this file right here that has been added for the foot and the toe. And you can barely see the little footprints, and that can be moved around just like any object, so it might be interesting to play with that. But let's see how that works. And let's see if we got, once again, yeah, we got a little odd activity there. We don't necessarily have the rising up as they step on the steps, but once again, hopefully by adjusting those settings, we can get, because this locking, popping knee here, steps definitely hits a little better in some respects, but not perfect, and maybe, just maybe, it is adjustable either by adjusting the motion corrector here and adjusting these settings here, maybe, hopefully, or individually adjusting each of the foot and toe objects here. And each one of them you see right there, they can be moved around. So lots of things to play with here to improve foot sliding and the feet reaching the surface correctly. So that might be worth playing with. But just want to play with that and show you that there are a lot of new additional things in iClone 8 that hopefully will help locomotion in general.